Hi again, social work students, and welcome to this quick bite-sized update on some of the key practice changes that have been happening since the COVID-19 pandemic. Firstly, any of the updates that I'm going to share through these slides, I'm also sharing via the Social Work at Chester University Facebook page. So do, if you've not already, like or follow us on Facebook and you'll get these updates as they're coming through as well. So firstly, we have a new piece of law in place, and first years, don't panic, this isn't something that you're going to be assessed on as part of your law and policy examination. However, for first, second and third years, it's going to be really useful for you to know, A, that this act exists and that it may have impacts on practice that will impact your own work in the short, medium and long term. So it's just handy for you to know that it exists. Firstly, it introduces a temporary register of social workers to enable those who have left the profession to return and assist with the reduced workforce at this time. Some easements have also been made to the Care Act, which means that the local authority duty to carry out detailed assessments of people's care and support needs is now just a power. So the local authority is still expected to respond as soon as possible to requests for care and support and to consider the needs and wishes of people, their family and carers. But the eased standards are designed to ease pressure on authorities as staff and carers are or become unwell or are needing to socially distance. For the same reasons, there have been some changes to the Mental Health Act that are pending so that the system can function throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The government is concerned that the pandemic will reduce the number of mental health professionals able to help people whose mental health places them at risk. So the changes around, there are changes around the durations that people can be temporarily detained for and the numbers of professionals needed to make key and emergency decisions. These changes will not apply from the moment the legislation is passed, but they may be activated if the crisis worsens. And this is something that we need to keep an eye on longer term in terms of advocating for the rights of those people using mental health services. Children who have a social worker or an education healthcare plan will be risk assessed by their school, local authorities and parents' carers to decide whether they need to have a school or college place during this time. This could include plans for carers or therapists to visit the home and provide any essential services as needed. Children who are entitled to free school meals can still get them during this time, and there are varying local arrangements in place, for example, deliveries or collections from schools that it's worth familiarising yourself with. And the blue links on there you can have a look at in your own time around the area of practice that you're either in or are particularly interested in. In terms of good practice, we are seeing some really good adaptations to digital practice in a relatively short period of time. As you know, my areas of interest are predominantly criminal justice, although I have some background in asylum seekers and refugee work as well. So I'm going to point you to some resources and good practice examples in my field, but I will invite you at the end to kind of add any of your own as well. So one thing that's happening online via the Prisoner Learning Alliance is the In-Cell Activity Hub. Now, we are all getting a taste of what it's like to have some of our freedoms removed and be stuck at home for long periods of time, but to be living in a prison at this period where you're on lockdown for lots of the day because there are staff shortages, and living in fear very often for your health because it's very difficult to socially distance in a prison. One of the initiatives that's been started is activities, positive activities that can be sent into prisons, be they learning resources or reading activities or other kinds of activities that can go on for people who are living in a cell. So if that's something that you'd like to get involved with, then you can search up the Prisoner Learning Alliance and get involved with that. Underneath that activity is the Asylum Navigation Board, the Right to Remain Asylum Navigation Board, which is a free information resource that you can share with people who are going through the asylum process if they have any questions, right from entering the UK through the process of claiming asylum and what comes next. What they've done on this board as well is add some right up-to-date information around COVID-19 and how that may affect asylum claims and settling in this country. So that's well worth a little explore as well. Community-led initiatives, which are a user-led organisation that offer peer support in the community to people who are leaving prison, have put the majority of their peer support online. So they've written a blog that you can access there about how they're adapting their day-to-day work, and it's really useful with some tips about how to survive home working as well. And similarly, the Care Leavers Association have put some of their group peer support online. So they've got an initiative called Care Leavers Connect. Again, this is in a group that might be especially isolated at the moment, possibly young people living in flats on their own for the first time and not have a huge support network. So Care Leavers Connect is a good place to signpost young people to. Self-care Psychology are providing you with some free self-care cards if this is something that you'd like to use yourself. I think you've used these cards in classes, some of you, around resilience. So if that's something that you'd like to access, then get in touch with Self-Care Psychology. Siobhan McLean, our visiting professor, has also made one of her resources around social work theories called Social Work Connect free until September to any social work students. Now, she did have a huge response to this offer, so there was a little bit of delay in terms of getting you access to a license, but do get in touch with Siobhan if this is something that you'd like to access. And if you've not already seen it, the Gruffalo illustrator, Alex Scheffler, has created a coronavirus illustrated book for children. If children that you are living or working with are feeling anxious about the disease, this is a really lovely way of introducing what's happening to them, to giving them some reassurance and to giving them some self-care survival strategies as well. So again, over to you. If you've got any great examples that you're seeing out there in practice or in work, things that you can share with us and we can share with students and staff more widely, then please do get in touch. Lovely to speak to you again, and I will be in touch soon.